Okay, so today we'll be talking about the 41 card Infernoid deck. We run 3 Lilith. What this does is it allows us to tribute any dark monster we control, reveal 3 trap cards from our deck. Your opponent selects one of them randomly and you set it to your side of the field, so you can reveal Void Feast off this. We run 3 Void Banishment. This allows us to discard a card, search for any Void card, and then also it allows us to, if a battle with an Infernoid monster happens, banish the both battling monsters. It's a trap trick. You can banish one normal trap card from your deck and then set one with the same name. Also, you can only activate one trap card for the rest of the turn after you activate this, so you can set Void Feast, then activate it, and then. So, Void Feast, the main card here. You can send up to 3 Infernoid monsters to a level equal 8, so 1 Sijet, which is a level 6, and 2 level 1 Decatrons, which will allow us to set up 2 negates. So, that's 12 cards that gets us to Void Feast. And for an extra little bit of consistency, we run Polyduality. If we don't get any of the 12 cards that get us to Void Feast directly there, 36 cards left in deck and 12 cards in deck that get us to Void Feast. So this is a pretty good card just for adding consistency to getting Void Feast. Then these are just cards that say Void on them for the most part. So Void Imagination, Terraforming, which will search Void Expansion, and then 3 Metaverse, which searches Void Expansion. And then obviously Lilith and Trap Trick can search Metaverse, which in turn can search Void Expansion. So I'll actually go over what these cards do. So Void Imagination is a Shadow Fusion. So if your opponent controls an extra deck monster, you can send it from the field to the graveyard to special summon Infernoid Tiara using up to 3 Infernoid monsters from your deck. So it sets up your grave, it allows you to set up Infernoid Tiara, and Tiara's effect will allow you to send 3 Elder Entity Inst, which will allow you to blow up 3 cards on the field. Pretty good. Also, it makes the original level of all Infernoid monsters on the field 1, and half the attack of all Infernoid attacks. So you'll have the damage of any Infernoid attack. Terraforming, it will search any field spell, which would be Void Expansion or Lair of Darkness, which we have here in our pile later. Void Expansion, during each of your standby phases, you can special summon one level 1 Infernoid token, and you can also, for the cost of Infernoid cards, banish Infernoid monsters off the field. And then Metaverse, which is a Terraforming, but a trap card. But it can activate it direct. It allows you to activate a field spell directly, or adds it to your hand. This deck's greatest weakness is probably a card called Ash Blossom. So we run a few cards that just sort of allow you to play around it. So Called by the Grave is a quick play spell. You banish a card in the graveyard and then negate the effect of it until the end of the next turn. So you just activate this on Ash Blossom. I know that's sort of basic knowledge that most people should have. Drag Down, this maybe not as basic. You activate this, but players reveal each other their hands, and then you and your opponent pick a card from each other's hands and then discard it, and then you both draw 1 card in response. So ideally, because we run so many spell traps in this deck, we set everything that we don't want to discard, and then we have like a Garnet in our hand, because we've got a few Garnets in this deck, and we reveal the Garnet and we just draw we reveal the Garnet as the only card in our hand. They have to discard the Garnet, and you rip an Ash Blossom out of their hand before you do Void Fist combo in their turn. And then we have 3 Infernoid Decatron. So when this is special summoned, you can send 1 Infernoid monster from your deck to the graveyard, and then this copies its effect. We have a few cards that just set up spell traps and negates, or monster negates, so that's what we use this for. So it's part of the engine, but it's also part of the protection as well, because if you just normal summon this and then send Infernoid Deviati, it will set up a monster negate and allow you to protect from Ash Blossom. And just one thing I forgot to sort of mention, you have to send a Void card for cost of Void Feast, which is entirely why I was going over that. So this is our pile of Garnets. Lair of Darkness is technically a Garnet because it doesn't actually help our engine in any manner. It just allows our field to have a lot more disruption. So because we're running 3 Metaverse and 1 Terraforming anyway, and the Void Feast combo is actually so consistent to get off, I threw in the 1 Lair of Darkness because it means if we get an extra one of our cards that just search trap cards, we can go for Metaverse and then just set up Lair, and that gives us extra disruption. It also is really good for going second against a lot of decks. It allows you to really, it's really good in the Thunder Dragon matchup as long as they don't have Titanite, and you tend to find that going blind first, they will set up Colossus and not actually set up Titan. So yeah, what it allows you to do is tribute. If you would tribute a monster you control, you can tribute your opponent's monster for the cost instead. And also everything becomes dark. During the end phase, each time a monster is tributed this turn, special summon tokens. So to turn players' field. That's really good against Sky Striker. Like, that is really good against Sky Striker because it basically turns off all their spells. Saitama's, Sajiat, and Sajiat, we'll go for these in different piles. So these require you to banish 2 Inferno monsters between your hand and graveyard to summon each. Then both of them have the effect that you contribute 1 monster you control to banish 1 card from your opponent's graveyard. And then when Sajiat declares an attack, your opponent has to banish a card from their extra deck. And when Saitama's has successfully attacked a monster this turn, you banish 1. During the end phase, you just banish 1 card on the field, which is just amazing. Hermetic and Petrolia, you banish 1 Infernoid monster from your hand or from your graveyard. Summon either of these. They contribute a monster to banish a card from your opponent's graveyard, but only during your opponent's turn. And you can blow up 1 spell or tap but can't attack this turn. You can blow up 1 monster but can't attack this turn. And these are cards you really don't want to draw. You don't so much mind drawing the other ones so much. You're happy actually drawing 1 Decatron most of the time. But yeah, Deviati, when both of them require you to banish 3 Inferno monsters to summon. They both have on-summon effects, so when Deviati's on summon, it destroys all spell or traps that don't have Void in the name. And when Inuku's is special summoned, it destroys all monsters that except itself. And then they both have the tribute effect is different. So when a monster effect's activated, you can tribute 1 monster you control to negate and then banish the monster. And when 1 spell or trap effect is activated, you can tribute 1 monster you control to negate and banish the spell or trap. So we ran 1 Gamma Seal, 1 Ridian, and 1 Humongous. These are all different. You probably just run 3 Gamma Seal if you really wanted, but there's some floodgates out there just sort of restrict you to 1 of each, and that can get kind of awkward. So, also I only have 1 of each. And it doesn't really matter enough for me to actually go to grab more. So I've actually made this after the YCS Chicago, because I sort of had this deck built around whether the Cybersign FTK, and I was like, I don't really know what to put in the side. I'll wait to the YCS Chicago because I can't go to it anyway. So I'll have a look at what they're actually playing and sort of build the side deck around that a bit more. So I saw that, as I thought, Turbo is kind of popular now. So I sort of thought this card's really good. You just out in a lot of things, and this works really well against Azathoth Turbo because you just summon it with your priority, and then if they try and use the rank up thing, you just pop the target and then they lose it. Also, the fact it outs a lot of annoying fields as well because it's just a special summon for 2600 attack, even if you just can't activate monster effect. Like say you're under Griffin, Nightmare Griffin, you can just attack over Griffin with this. It's really good. But yeah, I don't really think you need to explain a lot of cards. Super Volley, we run 2 targets. This is really good against Thunder Dragons, and it's good against anything that Mud Dragon can hit. It's mostly the last line of the card that makes it worth running. Your opponent can't activate cards effects in response to this. It's just like, oh, okay. That's not fair, but it's the reason I'm running it. 2 Twin Twisters. We don't like back row. I don't like discarding too much. Like I discard, but I don't like discarding too much. So I'm only running 2 Twin Twisters because we have a few other back row hitting cards in here, such as Evenly Matched. And then 3 Heavy Storm Duster. Now the reason that I decided to, I think I should talk about this. Evenly Matches is sort of obvious. It just wipes out a lot of fields, especially back row heavy ones. But I think I'll talk about these 2 together. I went for double Twin Twisters and triple Heavy Storm Dusters because I can actually set 2 of these if I'm going first. If I have Trap Trick Trap Wall, I have hard drawn one of these, then I can trap trick into this and then set up 4 blow up 4 cards. Just really good. Whereas this isn't a searchable, so I have to hard draw this. This mostly because this is super searchable in my deck, and this isn't. And most matchups don't really care. Like Sky Striker can't immediately kill you most of the time, so I'm not too worried about just immediately getting the threats off the field. For the likes of Sky Striker. In fact, Ultrageist doesn't really exist anymore after YCS, if we go by YCS Chicago. No, I think it might rear its head again, but I don't think it's going to be as big. And I think a lot of the control decks don't have the power to just kill you immediately, so you're not rushing through. So let's go to the extra deck. We run Doolittle and Wee Witch, and these both do the same thing. For fire, everything gains 500 attack. For dark, everything gains 500 attack. Just 2 dark, 2 fire. This is just for the OTK combo, where if you set up Void Feast, you can use any 2 monsters. If you're under layer, you make this. If you're not under layer, you make this to make this, and then you should have enough in grave after you've done 1 Void Feast to just summon a Sajet, and then an Anuku / Deviati, and then just attack if you've got free direct attack on that. Yeah. If your opponent runs fire monsters, this can potentially allow you to attack through a monster as well, because you just summon this, you grab Ash Blossom or something, whatever, fire monster from the grave, summon it here, and then you make Doolittle, and then... So it's just an extender that allows you to set up a bigger field. Void Imagination combo here, so summon this, you 5 or more, it'll trigger... Sorry, no, it's 3 or more. It'll trigger the send from the deck to the graveyard, then 5 or more, you mill 3. But like the first ones, the ones that matter. Yeah. The first one is the one that matters here because it will send these 3, and then these 3 will blow up 3 cards. And then if you can't go for game immediately, sometimes you can pop your own Tiara, summon stuff, and then go for game. My Dragon, super poly target. This one is good against Thunder Dragons. Like, I was thinking of running Titan myself, because if they set up Triple Colossus or something silly like that, or like Double Colossus, like just 3 Thunder Dragons. But I find this is actually better because you can just super poly, then you can just negate the 3rd one. So I run less targets, and this works against 2, and it works against 3 as well. And at that point, like it's mostly a control heavy deck anyway, so it's not really too worried about winning immediately. Link Krebo, because we make a level 1 token with Void Expansion. It sometimes comes up. I find as I made the deck better, it comes up less and less. But Topological Traspina, it's a good card. Blows up back row. Yeah. So we've got the little Nightmare engine here. So we don't run Unicorn because we don't actually summon enough monsters freely enough to make Unicorn, and like it's sort of a bit annoying here actually, because if Cerberus was the fire one, you could very easily turn it into Doolittle, and then you could blow up a monster, go into Doolittle with it, and then go on and do some other amount of damage for game. You just need 1 extra monster over what you usually do. But no, a really nice combo to do here is this blows up back row, obviously, this blows up monsters, and then this out Italy if they set out your side of the field and you can't summon anything, which can actually be a problem against some decks, but it also does something against that Altergeist thing that attacks directly, and the Trickster thing that attacks directly, because they can't deal damage. Direct attackers can't deal damage, and they have effect going off there. They can't trigger it. But no, Cerberus is actually pretty good for going for an OTK. If you have enough monsters, you can go into Cerberus, and then you can go into Charmer, and then Charmer can grab a fire, and then you can go into Doolittle, and then you can do your standard OTK, and you've popped an extra monster in the middle of that. All just dance around. And because Cyber Dragons actually saw some representation at the YCS, I sort of thought, well, that's a deck that exists now. I've got an extra deck spot for it. I'm not using it for anything else. The extra deck, like, I could seriously just cut the extra deck down to those cards. and it probably wouldn't hit it too much, because... So just having an instant win button against Cyber Dragons, I thought might as well be my last card. Because Phoenix is good, but like I never use it because I have a card called Deadly Alley that blows up the whole back row. Mermaid only really ever comes up against Ibly, and no one plays Orcust yet in my local player area, so that's more of a call for an event where you might see something that isn't seen in your local play area.